Welcome to Freaky Fauna Friday, where every Friday we take a little time and explore some of the freaks of nature from around the planet we cherish so deeply. So please, jump aboard and let's explore the wilds together. Welcome back. This is take 2, Freaky Fauna Friday. Unicorns.
Yes, unicorns. Because take 1, our roadcaster thought it was going to explode.
Well, I'm gonna blame the computer because the computer's been on its last legs for a while.
And
they're hooked into each other.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pray it's the computer, not the roadcaster.
Let's hope so, because one was much more expensive.
They're both actually cost about the same.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's been a
the
while.
one's been a lot older than the other.
Well, yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. So before we get rock and roll, I just wanted to give a shout out to Teacher Ben. Him and his classes are listening to Freaky Fauna Fridays during the school week, and we graciously appreciate it. They have made some suggestions, and we're gonna do that. Yeah, I mean, not this week, but we have. I'm just reading the emails. Super nice. We appreciate you guys listening, and to the school kids listening. Hey, from the great and powerful Mr. E
and Jay.
And we'll keep doing this for you guys. We'd love to do it.
Just remember to relax, have fun, and enjoy the show.
Yep. Don't take life too seriously as we talk about unicorns.
Unicorns. Come on. Let's get for real.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
You don't believe me?
Horses with horns on their head?
I never said horses.
Oh.
You added that.
Well, that's the typical unicorn image you get.
A four-legged, hairy animal with one single large horn coming out of its face.
An ungulate?
Yeah. An odd toad. We're going to talk about the woolly rhino.
Ah, the woolly rhino.
Mm-hmm. So, on Cribs of Corn, we're going to do a unicorn, like a full unicorn episode, and these guys will come up in that. Don't worry. No, so, Calodotia is the family name.
Calodotia.
But yeah, that roughly means hollow tooth. They got some big molars, herbivores. They're at about 6 feet tall at the shoulder. They're about 16 to 20 feet long.
That's pretty big.
So I looked it up. It's about an F-250.
Oh, all right.
So if you like the cab of an F-250,
yeah,
just walk around an F-250 and imagine a rhino that big.
Okay.
They weighed around 4,000 pounds.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, it's some questions. It's a little bigger than most modern rhinos and right on par with a lot of hippos.
Okay.
So pretty big. I mean, hippos are pretty big herbivores. Some of the biggest we've ever had on Earth for mammals.
Right.
There are a couples, like we've talked about, Paraceratherium and stuff, that have blown everybody out of the water, but that's...
A rhino cousin.
Another rhino. Yeah.
Ancient rhino cousin.
These guys mostly were found in Siberia, Mongolia, Russia, and Germany. There is some evidence to suggest they did make it to North America, but we're not fully sure yet. Because even where these guys were, they weren't ever very, very common.
Are these guys extinct?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
As far as conventional geology and everything's concerned, yes, they are extinct.
Gotcha. Okay.
But like when we look at stuff like mammoths, these guys went out way before mammoths did.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when we were finding graveyards of mammoths in like North America, there'd be 60,000 mammoths probably to every 3 of these if they did make it to North America.
Yeah.
So that may be a reason why we never found them.
Okay. Makes sense.
Any questions so far?
Not yet. I'm looking up a picture of
Big,
one right now.
hairy rhinos.
Or an artist rendition of one.
So they were from the Pleistocene to the Paleocene epochs, between about 3.7 million years ago to about 10,000 years ago. They were filled with an assemblage of large mammals, specially adapted for the extreme cold conditions in the continent at the time. So they're talking about like woolly rhinos were like woolly mammoths, big hairy elephants, big hairy rhinos.
Right, yep.
Just
the northern counterpart seemed to be.
The woolly rhino is like an iconic Ice Age animal. It's one of the kind of 3 you think about when you talk about the Ice Age. Members of this genus look very similar to present-day rhinos, just their bodies entirely covered with thick fur. Most of the time it was red in color. They had a little bit of variations with some browns and grays, but they were very brightly colored. These weren't an animal that were hiding from predators.
Right, yeah. Obviously, with the bright coloration. Did they like find them like their fur like in ice?
we saw them in permafrost in Siberia and stuff like that.
Oh, sweet.
Because the woolly rhino lived alongside with humans, pieces of their bones and parts of the animal have been around for hundreds of years, even before they were officially studied. So some tribes in Russia still had these guys' horns as a part of like housing and stuff like that. Oh, cool. The first official scientific description of this rhino was published in 1769, and that's when the genus was officially named in 1831. So they're old school. Like they were finding these guys, like I said, chunks of them are being used for housing still.
Right. And chunks being parts they found, like they dug up, not actual living ones, right?
Right.
Okay, just making that clear.
But there was talk about with it only being 10 or 12,000 years ago. They're bones. Like it's not fossils.
Right, yeah.
Like it's and they may have been their great ancestors have killed these things. Like what they did with the mastodons and the mammoths and using their tusk for housing.
Right, yeah.
Using as horns for housing, which we'll talk about their robust, famous horn here in a minute. These are robust, bulky build, barrel-shaped animals. From their head to the tail, the adults were just tanks.
Yeah.
Very, very poor eyesight like living rhinos, but great sense of smell. Even more magnified than most living rhinos.
Oh, okay.
And this is because
interesting
twofold things. So with heavy-bodied animals for the cold, it makes sense. The less surface area versus mass you have, the better you do in cold environments. Okay. That's why mammals get so much bigger away from the equator.
Okay.
That's for mammals. They get bigger the further away they are from the equator.
Right.
So the biggest predator on the planet lives in the Arctic.
Which would be the polar bear.
Yes.
Gotcha.
The biggest land predator.
Right.
Another reason for a great big huge nose is because it heats up the air before it gets to your internal core.
Oh, okay.
So it helps keep your core temperature up when you're breathing.
Right. You're not breathing all that cold air straight to your core.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's when you see the saga antelopes, the ones that have the trunks, which we'll do an episode on them. They're very, very weird. They're one of the last like ice age antelopes. That's the whole purpose of their nose. They don't have great sense of smell or nothing. It's literally to hold air to keep it warm before it goes into their body because they're a lot smaller than most of the other animals living there.
Okay.
One distinct feature of these woolly rhinos is their very, very large prominent horns. Both males and females had long forward-facing horns, with the smaller one between the eyes. So they had the like a two-horned rhino we have today. They have a small one kind of between the eyes, and they have the massive one on the end of their nose.
Right.
It's keratin material. Same stuff with hair.
And nails, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not bone, like true horn. But yeah. Want to guess how long the longest horn we found of these guys is?
Well, I'm going to kind of guess oversized a little bit.
Okay.
2.5 feet.
Right around 6 foot long.
Oh my gosh. All right, never mind.
And that's for the big horn.
A 6 foot long horn?
Yeah. That same animal had a 2 foot long short horn.
Dang. How big are modern rhinos? Are like?
I think the biggest we have are the whites that are left, and maybe the black rhinos have bigger horns. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think they can hit 4 foot.
That's just gigantic.
But that's like an old male, and then we don't have many of those left anymore in the world.
6 feet,
and they're cutting their horns off on like people are protecting them will cut their horns off now
so they don't get killed.
Yeah, so they don't get murdered for their horns.
Yeah.
Their skull of that animal measured about 40 inches long.
Dang, that's a huge head.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta have. Imagine how strong its neck and stuff is.
Yeah, it's just all muscle.
Yeah.
These things look fat, and they are not. They're just muscle. So it had short legs and prominent humps on its shoulders. This helps support its massive head and store fat reserves for the really harsh winter climates it was enduring. Mm-hmm. These guys are really funny. We'll talk about it. There's some other funny little things with these guys.
Okay.
Unlike the smooth, almost hairless bodies of present-day rhinos, the woolly rhino was covered, like I said, in long, thick fur, not hair. The long fur was reddish-brown in color with layers and layers upon it, and a dark undercoat preventing an additional protection layer.
Dang.
So their undercoat was almost black.
Yeah.
But I mean, their fur was they're made for Arctic conditions. It's thick, impenetrable fur.
That's one thing, we're never going to see again is that rhino fur skin rug or a rhino hat.
Java rhinos still have fur.
Do they?
Yeah, it's red, long, like an orangutan. But they're pretty much extinct.
Java rhinos?
Yeah.
Never heard of them either.
The fur coats, their limbs, it's shorter on their limbs and their head, like their neck and stuff like that. Any parts of the body that's actively moving a lot
had
shorter hair.
Okay.
Most of their fossils, the animals, are as far north as Eurasia, with parts in modern-day Europe, Asia, and in North America. What species are found in North America and their presence is still very under-researched right now. Because of the distribution of the fossil remains, the range has covered pretty much Siberia, Alaska, and the northern range of China is where we believe was their stronghold, with random individuals ending up here and there, as rhinos are known to do.
Right, yeah.
When you get that big in that ornery, there's not a lot of stuff.
That's going to stop you, prevent
Even
you.
in the Ice Age, there are things that could hunt these guys.
Like a short-faced bear?
Short-faced bears, saber-toothed cats, which were literally designed for bringing down megafauna.
Right.
But these guys were armor-plated, thick hair, and angry. There's signs of these guys destroying like rocks and trees and stuff like that from panicking. They had very poor vision. They would smell a predator and just see whatever was there.
And thrash about?
Yeah. There was even Neanderthal remains found that had crushed ribs from these guys.
Whoa, okay.
From them just like not spearing them, but the guy just missed the end of the horn.
Yeah.
And got ran over.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And then that's one of the first, actually that same body is why we know Neanderthals took care of each other. Because he didn't die from his injuries. His injuries healed.
Oh, wow.
So that's a big sign of saying like, oh, they were, his pack, his family.
Right.
Got him and nursed him back to health, some form of health.
Before he actually passed away from other
he died
complications.
Much later. Yeah, probably as best as you can for old age there,
Right, yeah.
Starving to death in winter. That's like old age.
There you go.
But yeah, any questions so far?
No, not yet. That's good.
They had the widest known range of any rhino genus ever.
Okay.
Like I said, we don't know a lot about them because they were never abundant where they were. They had really long gestation. They had a really long life cycle. Very few babies were produced by one female. I believe most biologists believe it's between 2 and 3 young per one female's life cycle.
Okay.
Which is that's plus one.
Yeah. Just enough to replace the mom and dad.
Yeah.
Plus one,
Yeah.
maybe.
Maybe if she lives her full life and a calf survives
Right.
to
Yeah.
adulthood every time. They're very solitary animals, as far as we can tell. Like most rhinos, they don't like anybody and they don't like each other. They were just literally would take care of their young and put up with each other when it was time to breed. But they went extinct right around that same thing with a lot of other megafauna, 11,700 years ago. Mm-hmm. And if you guys listen to the Cribs of Corn podcast, we've kind of talked about what happened in that. There's big questions of what happened at that time frame. Mm-hmm. But humans suffered a lot there. Megafauna in the oceans suffered a lot of extinction. Like it's the second mass extinction for the Ice Age. It's just a weird thing. These guys were herbivores. They pretty much were low-land grazers. So they used their giant bodies to kind of clean off snow and stuff like that. As far as we know, they did not do full migrations like a lot of the other megafauna.
So they kind of stayed in the relatively same area? Okay.
Yeah, they were stubborn.
Their home range.
Yes. With their short limbs, which were strong and effective at moving across the different terrains the rhinos lived in, they weren't great for long-term migration. When you look at mammoths and stuff like that, mammoths and mastodons almost weighed the same, completely different body builds. Mm-hmm. Mammoths have these giant, long, sweeping legs to help migrate
cover
thousands of miles a year.
Yeah.
When when most of your body's height is not your legs, you don't go very far.
Right, yeah.
But these guys were very territorial. And as far as we know from fossil and bone remains of each other and other animals, they murdered things often for their territory. They didn't care if it was a herbivore, a carnivore. They couldn't really see.
Right. They're like, I was going to say like hippos are in the water.
Yeah.
You kind of come around their area. They don't care what you are, but...
They'll just murder you.
Yeah, you're in my spot, you're gone.
Yeah, and these were very, very significant to a lot of the Horvat Cave, which is one of the really, really famous cave painting pictures. Like
okay.
One of the caves that has like great cave paintings. And they have hundreds of woolly rhinos in it. So we don't know
like
if this
paintings?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't know if it's the cultural importance of woolly rhinos
or there was just abundance there.
An abundance of them.
Yeah.
Which we don't really know. But they showed several different versions with different horns and stuff like that. So like I said, there's several different species that we're having trouble, distinguishing. We're really talking about the really big guy when we're talking about this one. The 250 sized rhino had a bad attitude. Any questions?
No.
So we don't know how long the gestation was, but based off of living rhinos, we're going to guess somewhere between several months and a year and a half.
Okay.
We
So
really
long
don't
time.
know. Yeah, big mammals have a long time. They're capable of standing and walking shortly after birth. We can know that from finding some of the food in some of the babies' stomachs. Wasn't just milk; they would start grazing pretty quick.
Okay.
We estimate that females could live up to 40 and 50 years old, with some scientists estimating up into the 80s.
Interesting.
Like I said, not a lot of things could kill this thing or want to kill it. Now, here's the thing is, a pack of saber-toothed cats could kill a woolly rhino.
Right.
But we talk about that with cost effectiveness reward.
Is it worth it? They got to
Is
be
it
pretty
worth it
desperate.
to try to lose half of your pack
Right, yeah.
to kill this thing.
I think I've tried doing it on the game Conan Exiles. It's really difficult.
Now these guys, it's rare. It's very, very weird. They have with the Sumatra and the Java rhino. That's their last common ancestor with modern day rhinos. They shared one with those guys.
Okay.
Which is a hairy rhino. But they almost mimic mammoth evolution to a T.
Explain.
So Sumatra rhinos, Southern Asia, Asian elephants, or their relative was the one that became woolly mammoths and mastodons.
Oh, okay.
They did at the same time, 3.7 million years ago is when they started these body changes.
The switches. Okay.
Together.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So they basically, it's kind of neat. These two species walked into the tundra together and made it to North America at the same time. They followed the same path. As far as we know, they didn't fight a lot. It was probably one of the only animals that a woolly rhino really wouldn't charge at, as far as we could really tell.
Okay.
And you see that with kind of African elephants and rhinos in Africa, where they'll kind of look at each other. Sometimes they'll pick fights, but it's really rare.
Okay.
They both know it's not smart.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, just kind of neat that they've diversified at the same time and these new species emerged about the same time.
So they kind of wandered in the same areas and occupied similar niches.
The
And,
exact same time.
yeah, and built.
Well, they just followed their the elephant rhino relationship
Right.
all the way into America.
Or just through the north, through the tundra, through
Yeah.
the cold.
Yeah, just as neat. It's one of those cool little things.
They're buddies.
I don't know about that, but it's just neat
Oh.
that it's just at the same time.
Oh, yeah, considering some of the elephants with the holes in their bellies.
Yeah. But there's some evidence with trackways from mammoths, Colombian mammoths, that they may have followed them for short periods of time and stuff like that. We don't know if they were following the herd or even walking with the herd.
Right, yeah.
They may have looked enough like each other to the rhino, where the rhino was thinking it was a pack, of other rhinos. Like, where are we going?
Like that. Have you seen that video of that donkey that's with that group of elks?
Yes.
Just like him.
Yeah. So they lived alongside many other species, herbivores and carnivores. One big one was cave lions, which we've never really talked about, and cave hyenas, which we have talked about, were some of these guys' big threats. Cave hyenas were the number one killer of calves,
Yeah.
and cave lions were either single or pair hunters, and they were massive.
Well, were cave goats a threat to them?
They never got off the island, thank goodness.
Okay, good. Previous Freaky Fauna listeners know about the cave goat.
Worst mammal ever. Given their size, woolly rhinos probably were a challenging prey for any of these predators. Mm-hmm. They just weren't. The intimidating horns were also a defense adaptation to prevent levels of protection.
I still can't imagine walking up if I were
Seen an animal with a 6-foot
6
horn.
foot horn off its face. I can't.
Bad attitude too.
Yeah.
But no, however weak, young, and injured individuals are probably targeted and preyed upon. We think they had some kind of courtship behaviors with males jousting or fighting, like modern day rhinos.
Okay.
So the loser was definitely eaten by predators pretty quick.
It got beat up so bad. Yeah.
Broken horn, broken legs. At that
man.
point, predators would swoop right in and finish off whoever lost.
All for courting.
And how it works.
It's important.
Woolly rhinos lived alongside several other large herbivores, like I've already said, woolly mammoth, saga antelopes, giant deer, and giant bison. The only one that's still left is the saga antelope. And it's the smallest one of the group. They're not small, but the smallest one when you're talking about giant bison and
Megafauna.
mammoth.
Yeah.
The herbivores occupied the same food sources and other resources. Another thought of why they may have been friendly with mammoths is mammoths were specifically designed to clear off snow and get to the hard-to-reach grasses under the snowpack.
Yeah.
The rhinos could do it too, but not as good.
Right.
So they may have gotten friendly enough that, I'll just follow these, because several other species did that with mammoths.
Followed along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it may have been nice for the mammoths to just have this angry tank that would attack anything that approached the herd.
Right, yeah. Well, I wouldn't mind having that as a layer of protection.
Interspecies encounters for mating, food, and territory would have been occurring also. Towards the end of their existence, woolly rhinos share their habitat with primitive humans. Although these interactions are rare, experts think this may have hunted and even scavenged these rhinos quite extensively. So same thing with mammoths. Is humans were not responsible for their extinction,
Okay.
but we're probably the last nail in the coffin.
The push over the edge.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the time mammoths were being hunted by people, their population had gone from 4 million individuals to right around 60,000 individuals.
Okay.
So a huge population reduction due to bison.
Right.
And then the humans probably finished off the rest of those.
Okay.
With these guys, we have no idea the population. We're still trying to figure out how many species of them there were. Right now, I've seen anywhere doing the research for this episode from 3 to 7 species.
Thousands?
No,
sorry.
species
I
of
was
woolly
thinking,
rhino.
thinking individuals. Like,
No, because we just don't know. We don't have a lot of them. So is it species variation or is it different species?
right.
We don't have enough genetic material to really kind of
If they're actually different animals or if they're just different
members
phenotypes.
of the same. Yeah. So we really don't know. There may have been 2 species. There may have been 20.
Right.
And that could answer a lot of questions about their diversity and why Siberia had, 10 times more than anywhere else is because that species may have reproduced quicker.
Right.
When the ones that ventured out, the ones that would actually go long distances, may have had long gestation.
It's hard. Yeah. We don't know. We won't know.
And we won't, we could. We're
Unless,
going to
like-
bring it back.
Yeah. Right. What, colossal? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll see. They're not on their list, though, so.
I think they are. I just don't think they've told anybody.
Oh, okay.
Because it fits all the criteria.
As.
Their habitat's still there, not infringed upon by humans. They have a close living relative for embryo transportation, the Sumatran rhino. And they're already working. Colossus is actually famous for working with rhinos.
Oh, interesting.
Like the Java rhino.
Yeah,
That's one of their species they're working with. The last living cousin.
They're just looking around until they can finally find one, and then claim they recreate it. Oh yeah.
But no, that's been this week. This is one of my favorite Ice Age animals.
Yeah, the woolly rhino.
Just because it's not talked about. It's been on a couple shows and stuff like that. But definitely, I would rather run into a mammoth or a mastodon over this guy.
Yeah.
Any day. Because it's like a modern day rhino, just bigger.
Right. And probably more
and
vicious.
A lot more panicky.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah.
And mad.
What? So let's tie it back to the unicorn.
Oh, well.
Why'd you call him a unicorn?
I think you'll have to wait for that episode to come out on Cribs of Corn podcast in season 6.
Oh, okay. A little teaser.
I think it should be the episode after this on the main show, as in the dates.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I have been the great and peaceful mystery.
And I've been Jay.
And we'll catch you next week, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Freaky Fauna Friday. If you want to help the podcast grow, remember to share and give it a 5-star review.